we will see characteristics of Python that are crucial for a Python to be this popular. Otherwise, it might have been just another programming. What are those? The most important one is, of course, these are the characteristics that are dynamically typed. It is strongly typed, portable, high level, and but let's discuss what is what here. Very first thing, Python is generic general purpose programming language. That is not mentioned here, but we have discussed that in the other section. So, which is general purpose programming language, and the next one is portable. What is meant by portable? Portable means how many devices we have in this world. Let's take, we have different types of laptops, Windows laptops, Mac OS laptops, Linux, Ubuntu laptops, and these are different platforms, different hardwares. We have a iPad and tablets from Samsung, okay, and different companies. There are tablets, and we have mobile phones. We have different chips, embedded circuits. So likewise, these are all different. What do you say? Different platforms or different things. Thing is that in olden days, remember, we learned that when someone wants to code, they used to write code in a ones and zeros, but once and that code will work on that particular device that was intended for. Okay, so I'll give you an example. You are using some Nokia phone. If I write a software for that Nokia, so in ones and zeros, and okay, imagine we don't have high-level languages. What happens? That software will work on your phone only, that app. So if I take that app and try to install another phone, it won't work. Okay, but in olden days, yes, we don't have phones, but I give you an example by taking. Okay, that used to be the case. Later, we use the compilers because the code we write that executes on the hardware. So that is bound to the hardware. A couple of decades back. But later we have a high-level programming languages. Those programming languages compilers are optimized to compile the code we write to the particular devices or platforms. What happens? Python is portable. So this used to be the case. If you want that code to run on different devices, you have to rewrite that. That used to be the case. But it is also the case now. If you take a static typed programming language such as C, okay, if you write a code on one platform, probably you of course you can write a code combining targeting all platforms, but thing is that once you compile that will execute on that particular targeted platform only, because once you create the executable software, that won't run on every platform. Imagine if you go to the download, if you try to download any software from any website, you will see their different platforms: Windows, Mac, Linux, right? Isn't it? So I'll give you just an example here. That used to be the case, but what happens? Python is portable. So let's say I go to, okay, and if I go to downloads here, what happens? You see different platforms. Yeah, why? Because this is written in some C other language. So thing is that C, C++. The thing is that you write one code and that won't execute on all platforms, all these. So, so that needs to be compiled to targeted uh, binaries. It is not portable. But when it comes to Python, thing is that we write once and execute everywhere, anywhere. Yeah, any platform. So write code once. So there is no such a process of compilation that we will see in a moment. So write code once and execute anywhere or everywhere wherever you have Python installed. Okay. So you all you need is a Python interpreter. All you need is a Python interpreter. So you write code and that can be executed assuming we have a Python interpreter installed. Likewise, if you know the Java, you need a JVM or a JRE. Okay, JRE for a Java program to run. So likewise, Python, you need a Python for that to execute on any platform. So it will execute write code once, it will execute on Windows, Mac, Linux, tablet, phone, or the embedded devices, IoT platforms, Raspberry Pi, everywhere. So you write code once and it is portable, right? That is the main thing. That is the main thing. You don't have to worry a lot about being uh, very specific for the platform and the compiling uh, the code targeting particular platform. So which is pretty neat, right? So that is one thing. Yeah, Java is both the interpreter and the compile programming language. Java is also portable. No. So that there are differences between Java and Python. So Java, according to syntax, lot of differences are there. Okay, but different programming languages tend to share some similarities. So it is portable, unlike a C++. So next thing is, yeah, you know high level. So what is low level? Low level is machine code, machine language. That is writing something in ones and zeros that system can understand, which is low level to the processor. But this code is high level. The Python code will write. We write something like this. Okay. This is code. Okay. This is something. Okay? So you can't understand unless you know the syntax, but you can read that. Okay. At least you can interpret something out of it. So that is so this is high level language and pretty much uh, close to our in language English. Yeah. I don't mean to infer no language syntax. It means that we can read anyone uh, with English knowledge. Anyone who can read English, write English can read this code. But to understand that, one must know the syntax. So that is high level. So what else? It is interpreter. So there's a difference between interpreter and compiler. There are two things that can translate the code. Okay, we need a translator. Okay, that can translate the code. There are two types of translators that are compiler and another one is interpreter. Okay, so what is compiler? What is interpreter? Compiler is something you give a compiler whole document. Okay, so your whole code, and what compiler does takes that whole code. Okay, yeah, so it is a compiler. So it takes the whole document and gives the code in ones and zeros. Okay, So that will be directly executed on CPU. Okay. This is compiler. No, compiler is the software. Okay. Now which converts the high level code. Yeah, level code to machine language. Okay. So because the machine can't understand high level. So that is compiler. I'll give you an example. Compiler one example. I wrote some book in a language Spanish. And, you know the Spanish and English, so I give you the book and you will translate that book into English. So you are compiling that. So whole book is translated into another language. So you are doing it once. Of course, it means that you are not doing it single shot, but you are doing it once. Okay. So you will you will understand this even better if I explain you about interpreter. Let's say, take an example. Nice classic example we have discussed. You are the PM of one country, okay, Spanish. I'm a PM of English country. So what do we need? Yes, some European country. You know the Spanish, okay. So and I know English. So you are speaking, but I don't understand. What happens? I need an interpreter. Or yeah. But I'll we'll see the difference. Let me tell you even better. Even better example is, let's say you went to some seminar or a meeting or some public meeting, the where you went to some non-local place where that local language is different. Okay, that local dialect is there, but all you know is English. What happens? You will speak in English one sentence. The translator, what translator does, he will translate and spit out. Yeah, yes, yes, yeah, yes. So yeah, so he is a politician. Okay, so he's speaking language English, but local languages, let's say some another language, like let's say you can take Hindi. Okay, so he speaks in English. So this person who translates. Okay, or we sometimes it can also be called as language interpreter. Okay, so translator, he is translator. What he does, he speaks the one sentence. Okay, and he will translate that and fix that, that sentence, exact that sentence. So he won't wait until his whole speech is finished. So this is the main difference. What happens? Sentence by sentence, right? This is whole speech. He doesn't know what is next sentence unless he speaks, right? So what is the main difference? Main difference is he translate the line by line, sentence by sentence. That is the difference. What happens? Interpreter, you have the code. Okay, so an interpreter, but what interpreter does, okay, takes a whole document but doesn't compile anything. It compiles the first line. Okay, so compiles into the byte compile code, and executes that first line. So it converts that in a Python, specific to Python. Each line will be compiled to byte compile code, and that will be executed on a Python virtual machine. Okay, the Python has a VM. It's called Python virtual machine. Okay? So that will be byte compile and given to Python virtual machine, and that will execute. VM will execute on that code, and output will be you will get. Okay, so do you understand? So this one doesn't know even what is next. Okay, this goes line by line. But when it comes to compiler, so the whole document. So there is a drawback. There is a pros and cons between compiler and interpreter. What are those? What are those? If you take a compiler, it knows errors upfront. Yeah, but we don't know any error until that line is executed. Okay, so all errors are not known. Okay, upfront. So next one is the kind of fast. Okay, so why because you will compile this that will be compiled, and the whole machine code, it has everything ready. So let me tell you one example here. So I gave you book to translate, and after you translate that book, is whole thing is ready for me to read. But I'm waiting here as an audience. Okay, so I have to wait for 1 hour for this whole, because I don't know English, I know this Hindi. Okay, I have to wait for a whole 1 hour or 2 hours of a meeting to know whole speech. Okay, so because I don't know that language. So same, yes. So no, so it doesn't mean that okay. Uh, okay, maybe this thing I'll explain you later in a moment. Okay, let's move on and see what are differences. So it means that errors are not upfront, so kind of slow. Okay, so this process, whole compilation, because one will be compiled and executed, compile to byte compile and executed. Okay, whole thing is given, and so you can't proceed until you fix the errors. Okay, can't proceed. You have to fix the errors. Okay, errors, because you are, unless you fix all errors, you won't get this machine code available. Okay, so you don't have to fix all errors for this file to run, because yeah, of course it doesn't know where is a error. It will uh, compile and execute one line by line. When there is an error, there it will stop. Okay, for to execute, don't have to fix all errors. Okay, so that is the thing, but it is kind of slow when it comes to productivity. Okay, but it is fast, productive, which means when it comes to for developers to write code, quickly check what is going on, execute, that whole cycle is actually fast. So it is productive. It is less productive because every time to fix some error, you have to compile everything and wait for a less productive is compiler languages, because you have to wait until whole project is compiled. Of course, there are optimizations done to creatables for compiling change files only. Anyway, but you have to compile everything and then check fix errors. But this is productive. It offers a productive cycles for the developer. So it is fast when it comes to writing code and checking that fix and execute cycles. Okay, so but there are pros and cons. But this whole thing, this language Python became portable because it is interpreter language and because of the virtual machine Python VM. Okay, that will Python code will be compiled to Python byte compile, and VM can understand, Python virtual machine can understand that code, and it will execute that code to and will give the output. So this is you can now you understand what is interpreter. It is Python is interpreter language. Okay, so what is dynamically typed and what is static? Strongly typed. The kind of so I hope these terms make sense here. Portable, interpreted, high level, but yeah, these might not make sense here. What is dynamically typed? What is static? Strongly typed. So let's discuss what is dynamically typed. Okay, so this is what are examples of static typed languages? Okay. Yeah, static typed languages are C, C++, Java also. Okay, so what dynamic type languages are? Yeah, Python. There's a JavaScript also. Yeah, these are quite popular languages that are dynamic. So what is dynamic? What actually is a dynamically typed programming language? Now, in a dynamically typed programming language, you don't have to define types upfront. What is this is something, if you know C, this is better understood. In a C language or a C++ Java, you have to define what the variables that you are using upfront, and types are associated bound to that variables. So thing is that if you define a variable in a C that is integer, you can't store anything else in that variable. So think of variables, or if you don't know variables, what are variables? Think of variables as some containers in which we can share we can store some values. Okay, so you so in a statically typed languages, type is defined upfront, and that type is bound to that variable. Variables are type bound, and you can't put anything else other than that type that is bound to, or a type for which it is declared. But when it comes to dynamically typed languages, type is determined during runtime. Yeah. So this might be confusing as it sounds. I'll try to make it simple. Yeah, static, you have to define a. See, this is a basket we have. Variables are baskets. So you can put any value, but it is intended for. Okay. So because you will label that type, what that type is upfront in static type languages. But in a dynamic type languages, you have variables, but you don't label that. Okay. So what it can store, you can put anything in that, and what type that variable is determined while execution, during execution. Okay. So you can put some value here. Okay, some value. So or you can remove that and you can put something else. So I'll give you an example here. Okay. So I'll try to make it relevant as possible. So we have uh, let's say you have wallet, a card, credit card pouch. What you can put, you can only put cards. Okay, you can only put cards, but you have a like a think of it as we discussed. It is specific. It is general purpose. You can put anything. If you take a handbag, yeah, so something like that. So it, or let's say I'll give you, if you have a kitchen, you can label jars you have, like a sugar. Okay, yeah. So thing is that you are compelled to put what is written on there only because you label that. Okay, because that is static type, because you label that. So in your kitchen, but if you take a jar without any label, thing is that you can put sugar later, you can put some powder later, you can put some beans, but what is in there you will determine by looking through that glass. It is a glass jar, that is dynamically typed. So that by taking the jar, when you will determine that what is inside, while you are looking at, when you are using, oh, this jar contains salt or sugar, okay, let's use this. Okay, when you are working, that is determined. So that is kind of dynamically typed. Got it? Hopefully this is better understood with this example. So this is, Python is dynamically typed. Let me tell you what is hard in terms of programming, static typed or dynamic typed. Static typed is a hard in terms of programming. Why? Because you have to determine, you have to know upfront what you are using. Okay, because when you are programming, when you are programming, because you don't know all variables at once. And so all variables at once, and as you program, you will find that, of course, you will go and edit declared variables, but thing is that you need to declare everything upfront. Next, another thing is, it is kind of constrained in the sense you have three jars only. Let's say one is for sugar, salt, another one is some beans. You are constrained. You have labeled those three jars, that you are constrained there, and you have another, some powder. Okay, cocoa powder. Let's say you are constrained because you have three jars only, so you can't easily. You don't have a jar with, which is not let's say if you have a jar with label which is not labeled, what you will do, once it is used up, the whole content, everything is inside is used up, you can put something else, that can be cocoa powder or anything. But even though if sugar is empty, you're not, if sugar jar is empty, but that is labeled sugar. Okay, so of course you can put the cocoa powder or anything, but thing is that you will spoil the dish. Okay, so same thing here in a programming language. If it is static type, if you try to put some other type, you will get an error. The program will collapse. Program will not compile. In a static type, we put a value inside a variable. The variable is bound to that. It kind of, we label that variable of that particular type. Got it? So this is dynamic type. It's much like you have a generic jar which is not labeled. You can put anything. So, okay, remove everything it has and clean up and put something else. So that is dynamically typed. What is strong type? Kind of okay, we know dynamically typed. What is strong type here? Yeah, strong type is so. Before we proceed to strong type, let me Let me explain what is dynamic type in a single sentence, what we have understood so far. Dynamic type programming languages are those that in which values are not bound to variables. We can type is determined on runtime. Whatever is explained, so this is what I explained so far. Okay. And we have a strong type. What is strong type? So strong type is the weak type. There are other languages. What is opposite of dynamically typed is static type. Okay. Opposite of strong type is weak type. Okay. So what is strong type? What is weak type? Okay. In a strong type languages, you can't add no anything else. So much like so if you have integer, okay, 2, and you have something else, some string solo, you can't add these two. You will get an error. Okay, because they are not compatible. So how can you add? You can add 2 plus 3, you will get 5. But how can you add this thing? Okay, so they are a strong type. They are restricted. So programming languages doesn't allow for different types that are not compatible to be uh, to perform operations on different types. So this is kind of how strong it is. Some languages are very pretty much strong. Some languages are strong. Okay, that we will see how we'll see what languages are very strong type, what languages. But when it comes to Python, which is dynamically typed and strong type. What is weak type? Weak type languages are those, they kind of allow mostly anything. Uh, if you take a JavaScript, which is a weak type languages, this will result in 2 solo. Yeah, those are weak type. So in a weak type languages, you can they allow you to perform operations are 2 different types. But thing is that which is kind of sometimes uh, which is sometimes helpful and sometimes annoying. That might result in some serious errors, logical errors. Python is strong type none. So what is an example of weak type? Which is JavaScript. Yes, JavaScript is weak type language. So let me show you. Let me show you some a graph. Okay, here different types of languages where they belong. These are different languages. Strong, weak. If you take axis, okay, static, dynamic, strong, weak. Okay, so this quadrant, first quadrant languages are strong and static type. What are those? Java, C Sharp, Haskell. But the languages here or left side quadrant are they're dynamic and strong type. What are those? Python, Erlang, Groovy. Okay, and this quadrant, these languages are dynamic and weak type. So these are weak typed as well as dynamic, which is a Perl, PHP, JavaScript. So these are kind of no different languages that are like these are odd man out. C sharp. Of course, the C sharp is here on both sides. Yeah. So here C is a static type as well as a weak type. Okay. So you can see here C sharp. So it is kind of how strong, more than So C is a more static and less weak. It's kind of represented that way. But okay, put that thing aside. C, C++ are weak and static type. Python is strong and dynamic type. Hope it is understood that. So it results in different. It doesn't result in logical errors that you don't expect. This is JavaScript interpreter. Okay, so this is JavaScript is also interpreted language. I can write, if you can read, you can see this 2 plus 3, what you got here 5. But if I do 2 plus hello, what you got here, yeah. But let's take a Python interpreter. What do I have? I have a Python. Okay, 2 plus 3, what you got, this is the interpreter. You see, I gave, this is a high level language. In a high level language, if you want to give 2 plus 3, we have seen the code we should write. Addition, machine language. This is what something, you know, you have to write in a machine language to add two things, which is low level. In high level language, in the interpreter, you wrote something, and what you got, byte compile that and execute it on virtual machine and got the output. Let's write a 2 plus hello. What you will get? No, it is a Python interpreter. You will get an error because Python is dynamic and strong type. JavaScript is dynamic and weak type. It's much like strong type languages don't allow operations between uncompatible. No, okay, non-compatible are different types, but on a weak type languages on different types operations are allowed. Got it? When you perform operation on different types, that is it is, since it is strong type, that it doesn't allow operations between different types. Okay, which is strong type, which is strongly typed, and dynamic type. Python is portable. Python, yes, these are characteristics of Python. We are not done it. Another one is Python offers memory management. What is memory management? I'll give you an example. Okay, I'll explain this with some example. Your brother or sisters have done some mess in your home. Okay, so who will clean up that mess? Let's say if we have let's say someone no, you hired someone to to clean up the home or to wash dishes, you know, they can take care of that mess. Okay, but you don't have any servant. Of course, they will have to take care of the mess they have made. Otherwise, you know, probably, you know, the one who takes the responsibility may end up cleaning that. So this, by using this example, let me explain how in languages it works. In languages that those don't support this memory management, we have to take care of the mess we have made. Such as if you define a variables, or if you allocate some memory, you have to take care of cleaning up that memory. Okay, but that is kind of extra task, isn't it? So you went to the restaurant and you ate, and you made a mess on table, just not spilling in something, but after eating. So how is it going to be if you end up cleaning that table after you play the bill? But we'll do that in our home, but not on restaurants, not in restaurants. But so this is the case in our languages don't offer memory managers. Those examples are C, C++. Okay, so memory management means, so in a computer, RAM, you should have heard about RAM, 3GB RAM phone, octa-core processor. Yeah. So what is RAM is used for? RAM is used for, if you have more RAM, you can use you can work with more concurrent apps simultaneously. Okay. But the application that is using, any application, if you open the application, that application will load in a memory, RAM. So that application will make use of the RAM. But after the application, if that application is done with some RAM it took, it should take care of freeing up that RAM. Otherwise, it will uh, hamper the other applications that run on our operating system or platform. Yeah, when we are coding something, yes, but that is the case with the C, C++. Okay, so just like yeah, uh, no. After during the code only, when you have to allocate, let me show you that thing as well. Okay, so I'll give you a simple example with the memory management. Okay, see, here is the code. Here is a simple code. That is yeah, we are taking we are allocating some memory in a C. We should take care of freeing the memory. Okay, so don't worry about how this is C language, but don't worry about the syntax and all if you don't know. Okay, so this is for the sake of example. Okay. Mm. Can you see here free? This free is a function where we have to take care of freeing that space. Otherwise, what happens? Memory leaks happen and applications do crash if they end up taking so much space in the RAM. Operating system may terminate that, or some security potential vulnerabilities. It may open door to potential vulnerabilities, but that thing is bad. Do you understand? You ate something on your table, your dining table in your home, and you don't have any servant, but you don't clean up. That is bad. So this is much like our home, and we don't have servant. We need to take care of mess we made in a C, C++. Yeah, free, but you should take care of. You should take care of. You should not forget. Yeah. So this is something, another overhead you have, isn't it? In us, but when it comes to Python, it's like going to a restaurant. Mess you made, and you have kids, and lot of mess you made, and pay the bill. Let's walk out. They take care of cleaning up your mess. So much like that, in a Python, we have memory manager that will take care of cleaning up the mess. So you don't have to worry about you have defined some variables, some data, but you don't have to remember and taking care of cleaning up. So which kind of reduces the overhead developer is having memory manager. Yeah, that is done automatically. Garbage collector. Java also has a garbage collector. Python has a garbage collector. So which collects the garbage? Garbage is the mess you made by using data. That is why it is also called, they named it as a garbage collector. Okay, got it? And Python is object oriented. There are different types programming paradigms are there. I'll explain about that. Python is object oriented. What is object oriented? Object oriented is a language, programming language that in a Python everything is an object. Okay, so C is a procedural language or structured oriented language. Procedural language. There are functional languages. In object oriented languages, we have a better opportunity to represent real world scenarios effectively. Everything is an object in Python, which is quite easier when you create anything. For suppose if you are trying to build a game character is an object. So that object has some characteristics. Okay, so the functionalities and characteristics. It is better. But object-oriented languages support for any language to be called object-oriented. It must support some object-oriented characteristics such as inheritance, classes, polymorphism, method overloading, method overriding, operator overloading, operator overriding. But Python doesn't support all of them, but it supports. Python doesn't support method overloading. Whereas a C++ it is supported. C is not object-oriented programming. And Python is extensible. Object-oriented, I'll explain about, we'll further discuss about this in depth when we discuss about oops in a Python. And Python is extensible. It is much like, Python is, it has a lot of features. You can do a lot, but Python is, when it comes to writing drivers, let's say you bought a new PC. Sometimes in nowadays, we are getting laptops preloaded with the operating system. But let's say you bought the desktop. We need to install drivers. Driver is a software that will provide the bridge between the hardware device and the software. So in a drivers, we need to work with low-level hardware. So to work with the hardware, we need a language that is close to the hardware, which can be assembly or C language. C is sometimes also called as middle-level language. Okay, so but thing is that you may not be able to do that with Python because it is high-level language. Okay, you can't directly interact with hardware. Okay, because it is intentionally that is taken away because we don't want overhead of doing memory management or pointers in C. Okay, all that stuff, registers. But thing is that if you want to do, still you can do that because Python is extensible. You can write anything in C or C++ and you can bridge that by writing Python bindings. So you can extend. So the thing is that you can write something in a different language and you can use that in a Python. That is possible. Okay, we'll see that thing as well. You let's say you want some speed or you want to do some low level stuff. Write a code in C and write bindings for Python and call that for those functions from Python, C functions. Python is extensible. That is very powerful. So it is also, that is the reason it is also called glued language. Okay. So what else we haven't discussed that Python is general purpose language. Yeah. Python is, another thing is multi-paradigm. I'll explain about this multi-paradigm language. Here, So there are different programming paradigms that different languages support. Here, Python is type discipline. We have discussed this duck, dynamic, strong type, and there is a you see here paradigm. It is multi-paradigm, which is object-oriented, procedural, imperative, functional, structured, reflective. Yeah, different programming paradigms. It's a kind of for your understanding styles. Okay, it is object-oriented, multi. So you can actually supports these different programming paradigms. But when it comes to C, so you can do the functional programming, you can do the imperative, and it is object-oriented. But here, C, what is C? Which is imperative, procedural, and structured only. So it doesn't support C object-oriented because you can't represent real-world things, concepts, scenarios as an object. Okay. So for some use cases, there are functional languages. We'll discuss about these programming paradigms. There are a lot of different paradigms are there. Procedural languages are object-oriented, functional, reflective, imperative. Well, these are programming paradigms. You can see here. Okay. So what Python is multi paradigm. But why it is called like that? Because it supports different programming paradigms. Okay. And some for some scenarios, uh, objective oriented programming languages are appropriate for some scenarios, like functional languages are appropriate. So we choose uh, language of choice also influenced by the programming paradigm. So in such a case, Python is multi-paradigm. Okay. And another thing is it is productive, less code space, which means that you take the C and you might end up writing 100 lines for a particular task, but you could get it done in Python in 10 lines. That is what it is. It is productive because we don't need to. Python doesn't cost a developer to get any task done. A number of no huge number of lines. Okay, that is why another biggest reason why Python is chosen, uh, because the Python syntax is readable, readable. Okay, it is elegant. Elegant means it is beautiful when it compared to other programming languages. I don't mean to say. Uh, hmm. Let me show you. Let me show you. Hello world. Uh, Take this example. Can you see here for the simple program? Yeah. For simple program, for C, this is what you need to write. For C++, this whole stuff we have to write. For Java, this is, go through such a pain. And for Python, you write print hello world. This means, yeah, yeah, okay. So that is biggest thing. This is proportional. Here, this is hello world program. Printing some line on a console on terminal. But this is proportional. Okay, you have a compare this way 1 2 3 4 or 1 2 3 4 5 5 is to 1. Okay, just do that. Okay, so you have a 1,100 lines. Okay, okay, so you might end up writing 20 lines in Python. Okay, this is most of the case, because the syntax is syntax is created in such a way, programming lexical structure. Python comes with batteries, which means comes with batteries in the sense it has a huge built-in library modules. Okay, it means to say you purchased one clock or some electronic device on in a market or Amazon. If it comes with batteries, okay, so you can use it out of the box. If it doesn't if that package you have that package delivered without batteries, you can't use it out of the box. How to purchase batteries again and load the batteries and use it. The Python comes with batteries in the sense Python language has included a huge uh, built-in libraries. Those libraries are can be used to get most of the work uh, done. Okay, and it has a huge community. Python has a huge community. Batteries is like a phrase, which means to infer. Python comes with the built-in libraries. Okay? Comes with, yeah. Okay, so let's say let me show you Python library. This is the Python standard library. These are all libraries. Okay, so let me tell you one example. Let's say you want to create a zip, okay, zip file. So what you can do, we are using Python 2.7. Python 2 is deprecated. We should use Python 3. Okay, so let's say I want to work with the zip, which means zip archive files, tar files, or we use WinRAR. So I want to extract that. What I can do, import that library is there. Okay, I can import that, which means that I don't have to write all that functionality. No, you can import this, and this library provides some functions here. Okay, so I have to, let's say I want to compress some file, getlib dot compress. Okay, you see that is compressed, that data is compressed. Okay, but don't mind about that. But this compression logic requires a lot of code. Okay, so if you want to create that by yourself, what you need to do, you need to know the compression algorithm, how to compress, and you need to write a software for that, which means code for that, and there might be bugs in that, and so you end up uh, so you are using compression at one part in your software, but you will end up creating another software, which is a compression software. Got it? So this is a library that Python comes with, so out of the box. So without installing, there are third-party frameworks also. Python has a huge community and rich libraries and framework. Python has a rich third party, which means not out of the box. You have to install. Okay, libraries or frameworks. Okay, let me show you what are different frameworks here. So that is what now if you want to become the web developer, see, these are all third-party libraries. This is not an exhaustive list, which is not a complete list. Okay, so if you want to become the data analyst, Python has these different libraries and learn those. So if you want to become a web developer, learn Django. You might have heard about Django. Okay. Okay, let's say you want to become the test automation engineer. Okay. You see testing, different libraries and frameworks are there. You will see Selenium also here. You see this huge list. So most of the case, in a rare case scenario, you end up writing your own library or framework. So it has a huge community and following. Python has. Okay, huge community and following. And you can get you will get the work done in a less number of lines. These are the characteristics features of Python. Okay, let's wrap it up. What we have learned. Python is a high-level portable interpreter, general purpose language. So what is Python? I can write in one sentence what is Python. Okay, Python is general purpose. Static, sorry, no. Strong and dynamic type, dynamic, strong, dynamic and interpreted high level objective oriented programming language. Of course, we haven't mentioned a lot of other stuff here, but that is pretty much explained what we have learned.